Hello everybody, Matt here. Go react to Some Call Me Johnny versus Kirby's Dreamland. Also, I'm not using the camera this time because I just don't want to. So.
Hey, so you're saying that Kirby sucks. The thing is, that's actually true. So that means you're doing a Kirby marathon, right? No. What do you mean no?
I don't feel like doing a Kirby marathon.
Why?
Because
if you don't do it, you're gonna. I will kill you.
No. Oh, really?
Yes.
Well,
I don't like it.
What?
Hey, John. What? Hey, John. What? Hey, John. What? Can I have $5? I'll get us two. Okay. Hey, John. I'll pay you $2 if you do a Kirby marathon. Get my money back. No.
Hi. You know how good Kirby used to? I control your paycheck.
It's penny change. Sonic 2 is objectively better than Sonic.
And if you don't do this, you're letting them down. Not me, you're letting them down.
It's a low blow, motherfucker. Alright, fine. I'll do the fucking marathon.
It's about fucking time, asshole. Seriously. It's about fucking time.
Well then, it's finally here. No more beating around the bush. It's finally time to look at the Kirby franchise. And holy shit, ever since the end of my Pokemon Generation 2 video where I said this,
How about a month of Kirby then?
please, like, that series is worth dedicating an entire month to.
What did you say?
I'm not doing a month of Kirby. Doesn't deserve one. A lot of you, kind of took what I said seriously, and it's like, I don't know what to tell you. That was part of the script. I don't actually dislike Kirby. No, in fact, if anything, throughout my last 25 plus years of playing video games, I've been rather indifferent to the Kirby series. Let's put it this way, I only learned that Masahiro Sakurai, everyone's favorite indie developer, was the creator of the series after Super Smash Bros. Melee was already out for a few years. I know this man more for Smash Bros. Than his actual origins as a video game developer. It's not that I actively avoided the pink puff, I was just more interested in Sonic, Mario, Metroid, and Final Fantasy. My plate was already full when Kirby was making the rounds, and when I jumped to the PlayStation in 1996, that was that. The next time I would see Kirby in anything was Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. Since then, I've dabbled into some of the more recent stuff, Triple Deluxe for the 3DS, as well as Planet Robobot, which I think was really good. If I can say anything about this series now, is that it's cool to see it still going strong. But if you were to ask me what's my total Kirby experience, I can count the number of games on one hand. That said, the first Kirby game I ever played was, in fact, the first Kirby game ever released, Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy, released in 1992. Although I personally wouldn't play it until around 94, 95, somewhere around there. Memory's a little hazy on the details. But since this is the start of a new marathon, I like to dedicate a whole video to the first game. That's usually how I like to handle things here, so let's pop this baby in. Are you guys finally ready for the Kirby Marathon? Let's get this party started. Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy by HAL Laboratories. Masahiro Sakurai's first game in his career at the age of 23. 23. That's 23? He looked older then than he does now. What's that about? Also, typing his name in Google is pretty interesting because you get a visual chronology of his life, including that one time where he changed his race, completely lost a bunch of hair, and gained a lot of weight. Let it be known that crunch culture is indeed real, and it's very dangerous. Though Kirby was his official debut, he did receive a special thanks in the 1992 dungeon crawler Arcana, also developed by HAL Laboratories, which was released a few months before Kirby's Dream Land. I don't know what he did to elicit such special thanks, but who knows, maybe he was the coffee boy for the developers. So I'm looking at this.
I know that the guy, assuming the guy and the black guy in the picture had the same name. I'm gonna assume, that's all I know. Only know that just went weird.
box art here, and I'm already thrown off by Kirby's obviously white color palette. He's supposed to be pink, yeah? Well, as far as the North American release went, the cover artist just based Kirby's color off his grayscale sprite on the Game Boy. But if they were just going by looks, I don't know why everything else wasn't colored black and white as well. It was the Game Boy. The only way you were getting color off of this handheld was by suffering from a concussion, if that Game Gear commercial was anything to go by. Anybody remember that one? The Japanese cover has Kirby in his proper colors, and I can't find the source on this, but apparently even this was contested. Masahiro Sakurai and Shigeru Miyamoto apparently got into a bit of an argument on what Kirby's color should be. Sakurai wanted pink, Miyamoto wanted yellow. Maybe that's why Kirby was white in North America. These two argued for so long that the localizers said, fuck it, color him white until they stop bickering, for God's sakes. I don't know, yellow would have been too close to Pac-Man if you ask me, so I'm glad they went with pink. But man, talk about the bare minimum in character design. Okay, so originally Kirby's design was meant to be placeholder. I don't know what the final design would have been, but given it was the 90s, probably something like this. He also wasn't even called Kirby during conceptual stages, but rather Po-Po-Po. He was eventually given the name Kirby from a list they had ready to go, and according to Shigeru Miyamoto, this was done in reference to John Kirby, a lawyer.
Oh, fucking hell. Sorry about that.
Successfully defend Nintendo in a lawsuit against Universal Studios back when they were getting shit for Donkey Kong being potentially derivative of King Kong. I wonder.
Seriously? Wow. So pretty much Kirby's name came from a lawyer. One of the lawyers, okay. That's weird. Nintendo's working with Universal even though they had that back in the 80s. Wow. Just wow. So I guess they're trustworthy then. They'll really... Current one you can't trust is obviously Disney because of other reasons, but whatever.
Just say that's the oddest origin story for a name I ever heard for a Nintendo character, but then again, Mario was named after the landlord of Nintendo of America's office branch, so this shit is just kinda standard. The developers ended up liking Kirby's placeholder design so much that they just left it as is. It does go together with Kirby's simplistic nature. Masahiro Sakurai was tasked by Nintendo to create a game that was easy to jump into, something that even preschoolers can finish in due time. But gluttonous King DDD and his minions have stolen all the food from Dreamland's inhabitants, and in the Kirby series, that's basically like kicking a newborn. You just don't do that in Kirby. Would you stick your dick in a hornet's nest? No, so you don't steal Kirby's food. The little pink puff takes it upon himself to stop King DDD's selfish ambitions and bring the food back to Dreamland and its residents. A standard Nintendo story, which is totally the intention, even more so when they're going for a younger demographic, so that's perfectly fine here. He's a circle with two eyes, little stubs for hands, and round feet. The intent to make a game for all ages clearly didn't stop with the game itself. It reflects on the game's entire visual design and MO. The Kirby series often have some of the most beautifully cartoonish and whimsical games you can play on the Nintendo system. Most of them have the benefit of being released late in a console's lifespan, and combined with the simple and cute designs of Kirby himself and his surroundings, the developers likely know all the ins and outs on how to make a good-looking game, and the effort shows as early as the first game. For a Game Boy title, hell, as an 8-bit game, Kirby's Dream Land looks amazing. Good music, too. I don't remember most of the themes as much as I do Green Greens, but they all have a bouncy sound to them, complementing the aesthetic. Compared to other Nintendo franchises at the time, Kirby easily outperforms them in animation and expressiveness. Well, okay, expressiveness is kinda stretching it. In this game, Kirby's rather stoic. He doesn't really smile, he's got like one face throughout the whole thing, but he commits to it, damn it. When he's dancing after a level's done, when he's stuck inside a whale's blowhole, when he's got a sharp fishhook jammed in his mouth. This isn't quite the same Kirby as you might know in later games, but he still looks so adorable, and you know he means well. When you finish the game's extra mode, yeah, he sends King DDD through the roof and likely into orbit, but when the two meet up again, Kirby's quick to check and see if he's okay. Aw, Kirby doesn't mean any harm, except when you take away his food, then he's nigh unkillable and everyone's gonna die. And yeah, when it comes to that, Kirby's methods of dealing with enemies is relatively more extreme. Mario jumps on stuff, Link slashes things with his sword, and Sonic rolls into everything, but Kirby? He inhales bad guys like a vacuum and spits them back out. Or if you press down on the D-pad, he just devours them with no trace left. Doesn't even leave an egg like Yoshi here. Pretty gruesome when you think about it, but anyone who's gotten into Kirby in his later years and never played the first game before will likely be shocked to learn that Kirby's signature copying ability is not in this game at all. That wouldn't be introduced until Kirby's Adventure for the NES 1 year later. Again, hitting down on the D-pad doesn't do anything but have Kirby swallow his load and then it's off to eat the next thing. It's the most jarring thing to experience going back. I like to think it's common common knowledge that Kirby was always known for his copy ability. What is a Kirby game without that? Well, Dreamland has the answer for you. A super simple platformer that even a person with the slightest bit of platforming knowledge can complete in under half an hour. Yeah, this game is about as short as Super Mario Land with a third of the difficulty, which again is the entire point. Nintendo wanted a game that was easy to pick up, and Masahiro Sakurai gave them just that. Nothing really stands a chance against Kirby's powerful Waddle Dees, Waddle Doos, these happy little Unobombers. With the push of the B button, you can suck up all these cute little critters and spit them back out as projectiles, wiping out whatever's ahead of you or to clear the path. But even with something this useful, the game still has some power-ups for you. You got this thing here, which is called a mint leaf in America, but in Japan it's a sweet potato. Either way, it gives you perpetual flight, and you can shoot out air puffs without breaking your stride for a small amount of time. That sounds like it just gives him gas. No, actually, when I think about it, I guess that would be the super spicy curry. You have Kirby eat this, and he can shoot fireballs out of his mouth for a bit, and he moves a little faster too. You ever had to go to the bathroom really bad, but you were stuck on the freeway or a subway ride? I imagine that level of discomfort is similar to what Kirby's feeling right here. But as good as it is to get these kind of power-ups, they're unnecessary. There's a surplus of enemies to suck up and shoot out, so you always have projectiles in some fashion. Now, there are some that are immune to your powerful but you can easily deal with them by just ignoring them. And even if you don't have any enemies, you can have Kirby fly by holding up on the D-pad. Not only does this allow you to fly over basically everything, from bad guys to floor hazards and bottomless pits, but you can also shoot that air from your mouth like a bullet. That's enough for practically everything except boss fights. Now, these require a little more thought, but not that much. I mean, for God's sakes, the first boss is a tree. I don't know why we pick a fight with this thing. Even if they were a minion of King DDD, what the hell is a tree gonna do? It's a tree. Just walk past that son of a bitch. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. That's the face of someone who got into this mess because they didn't read the terms of service. But you also got these two, Lolo and La La La, who I think are actually based on characters from another game. Yeah, this one, Agerland, which would eventually become The Adventures of Lolo when it moved to the NES. It's a game where you push blocks to solve puzzles. Well, here's the solution to this puzzle. Die. Afterwards, you got this Zeppelin here, Kabula. One of my favorites because you fight her like a space shooter boss. Kinda easy to get hit though, because Kirby's in hyper sweet potato mode here, and his hitbox is gargantuan like his depressing eating habits. Then you got this cloud here called Krako, which sounds more like a clown who doesn't blow balloons but just does blow. He's probably the first boss you'll die to since he's rather aggressive and can only be hit with the bombs he drops on occasion. And he's also got two forms, so that's always nice. But at the end, you head to Mount DDD and take on the king himself. You gotta do a boss rush before you get to him, but that isn't so much of a problem if you got to this point. I love this fight because it perfectly encapsulates everything you need to know about DDD. He's a big guy and got the power to flatten you, but he's also a bit of a doofus. He doesn't really get that his attacks give Kirby a means to hurt him, and he also just straight up trips sometimes. So maybe this one-on-one fight is using the same engine from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. But if you upchuck enough stars at him, you send him blasting off into the silent beyond. Kirby not only saves all the food, but he hijacks the whole castle and brings it back to Dreamland. Good God, he was holding back the whole time. And that is the end of Kirby's first adventure. Got some interesting credits here too. I wasn't aware that weather on certain days of the week could make video games. Although I found out this is actually a pseudonym for the late Satoru Iwata who helped program the game, and now I'm suddenly sad. But hey, Bubby's here to cheer me up, and special thanks to Cypher? I'd say this wasn't a bad introduction to the puffball, but without his signature copy ability, it struggles to have an identity besides its cute visual design and presentation, which I should stress again is still a great thing about this game. The best thing about this game, really, it's so visually pleasing. You remove that though, and you're left with a super basic, super easy platformer that is over in no time. Although there is an extra mode you can access after beating the game. Extra mode is the game's hard mode, and fuck do they mean it. Your playtime can easily double with how aggressive things are in this mode. I mean, just look at this cannon here. Look at him go. That is a pissed off cannon. Enemies are not only more plentiful, but they're faster and hit a lot harder. Seriously, the Gordos take over half of your health in extra mode, and they're all over the place now. But we also get completely new bad guys that hinder your progression. Even the damn umbrellas attack you, and something as harmless looking as apples can kill you now. Boss fights also have new strategies so that even the goddamn tree can give you shit. In a way, it's kind of like playing a new game, and I really like that. You have incentive to play this because you're getting more of the experience, much like Star Fox's harder routes. Fundamentally, it's the same, and it's still beatable in under an hour, but this mode is pissed. It is something to consider if you found the original mode too easy, so I admired the development team looking out for both the casual and hardcore crowd. From what I understand, this is something that a lot of Kirby games do. So throughout this marathon, I'm kind of interested in seeing how this series challenges both newcomers and veterans, and how much veterans have it worse. If this extra mode is anything to go by, Holy shit. But this is all just from the first game. Next time, things will be getting a little more traditional with Kirby's Adventure on the NES. That said, this is the beginning of a dual marathon, so that won't necessarily be the next game we're tackling. In fact, next time we're starting a whole other marathon, and you guys got a sneak peek of this earlier this year when I looked at Resident Evil 2 Remake. I decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and review all the mainline Resident Evil games, because I want to do that for some time. A lot of you folks have been asking me to, so next time we're beginning the Resident Evil marathon as well, starting with Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1. However, I also wanted to take some time to spend on Sweet Home, and this was a Japanese-only Nintendo game that apparently inspired the first Resident Evil, and I don't know, I got my Metal Gear senses are tingling. I kind of want to look at this first before heading into Resident Evil and see where the inspiration stems from, if there's any at all, who knows, but I'm thinking I'm going to spend some time on Sweet Home as I'm heading into Resident Evil. I might combine the two into one video, make it a big meaty video, because, you know, those always kind of do well. So please the algorithm gods and all that sort of thing, whatever. That said, thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.
Recently, we compared two superheroes, Dashing Super Guy and Kirby from Nintendo. In some ways, Kirby lost big. No big hair, no big muscles, no weapons, nothing. All Kirby's got is appetite.
Holy shit! What the fuck? Okay, that got weird. Anyway, that was Johnny versus Kirby's Dreamland. Also, I just realized the hashtags how the fuck can I not say his name? Mr. Sakurai, okay. I thought I'd go fucking call him or... Yeah, I'll give him that, so I'm gonna go call him that. Well, what the fuck, Kaz? What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck's wrong with you? Jeez, man. Whatever. Catalyst, whatever. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Also, for team interviews, it's now gonna be a nickname again. It's not gonna be a character. Great. Now how to use that damn nickname again, at least for that damn show. Well, whatever.